It's one thing to believe that a product is going to be successful. It's another thing to imagine 10 or 20 years in the future how that product will change the world.
At just 35, Sean Parker has been public enemy #1 to the music industry, one of the first friends of Facebook, and made billions along the way.
Napster is an evil, 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 evil place to go.
In 1999, he co-founded Napster, a music sharing site that attracted millions of users and enough lawsuits from record labels to shut it down. 5 years later, he became the first president of Facebook. You probably remember him in the movie The Social Network, played by Justin Timberlake.
Look at my face and tell me I don't know what I'm talking about.
But Parker says the film got him all wrong. As he launches his most personal and ambitious endeavor yet, he sat down to talk with me about his past, his future, and his plan to change the world.
At Facebook, we believed, as Mark says, in making the world a more open and connected place. We believed identity was important on the internet. We believed in things like citizen journalism and blogging. We believed we could make people more connected and closer as a result of these products and services. I don't think we could have understood what the world would look like when 1 billion people were using these products. It's a very different world today in 2015 than it was in 2004, and I think it's radically different from the world that we thought we were creating.
Really? In what way?
In some good ways and some bad ways. I think all technology has unintended consequences. You know, it's easy for those of us in the tech business to only focus on the positives, which are making people closer, making it easier to communicate, making the world a smaller place. But we've also, in some ways, made people more lonely. We've created a world in which the usage of these technologies has become almost invasive, potentially interferes with our ability to live in the moment, because we're constantly documenting and we're constantly preserving our experience as part of our desire for social validation in this virtual environment, rather than being focused on what's happening in front of our noses.
How can you put the genie back into the bottle? I mean, has the world changed forever? And how do you fix some of the problems that technology has created?
It's likely that entrepreneurs will create technologies that are designed to restore intimacy and to make people more connected and feel closer, and that some of the broadcast mediums, like Facebook and Twitter, that encourage sharing with the whole world, will eventually start to be replaced by more private, more closed, more intimate mediums. I think Snapchat is probably an example of a move towards privacy and security over living in a broadcast medium. So we're already starting to see some of that backlash with other technologies. It'll be interesting to see how future generations approach these platforms.
The tech genius is now shifting his attention and $600 million of his personal wealth to philanthropy by establishing the Parker Foundation. At 35, a lot of people might think, what is this guy, crazy? You know, he's been phenomenally successful. He could still focus on building and creating new companies. Instead, you're making a full shift toward philanthropy. Why?
I think there's a real sense amongst tech entrepreneurs that we're living in a unique moment in history, and that because of circumstances that were in some ways beyond our control, we've been able to do extremely well. And there's a certain sense of responsibility that comes along with that, a desire to try to give back. And I'm incredibly lucky in that I've been able to be successful at a young enough age that I can shift my attention to trying to solve some of these bigger problems and to do it in a way that's fundamentally unselfish. Giving needs to be a full-time job. The problems are complicated. So they required building coalitions, working with existing institutions, working with new technologies, bringing people together.
Immunotherapy is a huge focus of your foundation. Why are you so excited about this new technique or this new approach?
So this is something that I have a personal interest in, both because I have friends and family who have been affected by cancer, like everyone, and also because I have autoimmune conditions in my family that led me about 20 years ago to start really thinking about the immune system. And I always wondered why the immune system couldn't detect and eliminate cancer cells. It has the ability to detect and kill cells that have been infected by a virus, but for whatever reason, we weren't seeing the immune system pursuing cancer. And researchers more recently have developed new techniques that unlock the power of the immune system to specifically target cancer and eliminate it. And this is producing cures that seem to be durable, and they seem to have fairly low side effects in leukemias and lymphomas and melanoma and other cancers that had failed all the conventional therapies.
You yourself suffered from severe peanut allergies. You missed 3 weeks in high school. I know you were hospitalized a bunch of times. What are you learning about allergies, specifically about peanut allergies?
For about 20 years, I tried to understand some of the autoimmune conditions that I was dealing with myself, and I began to learn a lot about the immune system and how it works. So I'm incredibly excited that this is finally starting to happen. The standard of care in treating allergies for 100 years or more has been trying to prevent people from dying of anaphylactic shock. There's been no way of reversing allergies, even though the mechanism by which food allergies operate is the same mechanism by which common seasonal allergies like a pollen allergy operates. And that never made sense to me. It felt like if you could get rid of a pollen allergy through desensitization, you could probably get rid of a severe peanut allergy through desensitization. But doctors were hesitant to take it on. It was dangerous and it was traumatic for people. In the last 20 years or so, that's begun to shift, and Dr. Kari Nadeau at Stanford has been leading that charge. She's figured out that you can feed children and adults small amounts of the thing that they're allergic to over a period of time and gradually desensitize them.
Really microscopic amounts, right? So as a result, they're no longer allergic.
That's right, their body becomes desensitized, and it is a slow process, but we've gone from this being a 2-year process to a 3-month process, and the goal over the next decade is to get this down to 1 or 2 treatments. But in order to do that, we have to understand the basic mechanisms by which your body develops that tolerance. And that's something that's not well understood.
So what do you do?
I'm an entrepreneur.
You're unemployed.
I wouldn't say that.
What would you say?
That I'm an entrepreneur.
Well, then what was your latest preneur?
Well, I founded an internet company that let folks download and share music for free.
Justin Timberlake portrayed you as a cocky opportunist in The Social Network, and you called the depiction a complete work of fiction. So how would you define the real Sean Parker if that was just so off the mark in your estimation?
I think generally everyone involved with Facebook and all these internet companies were a lot more boring and a lot more thoughtful and ultimately a lot more compassionate than any of the characters in that film. I'd probably like to think of myself as more thoughtful than I was portrayed.
How do you think you've changed since that movie came out and since that sort of chapter in your life in terms of your goals and your perspective?
I think that once you succeed in any industry, you begin to meet people who are successful across a whole range of different industries, and your perspective on the world broadens. And the problems that you faced in trying to create a technology company or in trying to raise money from investors or hire the right people, those problems don't go away, but you become much more cognizant of a wider range of problems facing the world. And you start to understand that some of the solutions that you might have come up with to solve these local micro problems could be applicable elsewhere. I think there's also a restlessness that all really good entrepreneurs have, and it comes from curiosity, wanting to understand the world, wanting to find some problem that's unique, where you have a unique solution to that problem. And once you've done it in one industry, you're going to try to do it in other industries, and you're going to try to do it in areas that maybe are unrelated to business, like philanthropy or politics or some of these other places.
Sounds like your sense of purpose has really changed dramatically.
I
Is that
think
fair?
I'd like to think so.